coming out from Ex Nihilo, followed by Azir from Team Dignitas EU. That'll be aimed at Godzuki. Is a Senkuk special, but he won't be playing in this game.
He won't be, unfortunately. What will Senkuk be playing? He played the Ezreal yesterday. We saw that. Had a weird game on the Ezreal, was the most interesting thing. As we said, some really weird mistakes. Not anything that we have seen from Senkuk, but I was kind of looking at some of his recent tweets and stuff like that, been following what he's been saying. He actually, I believe, hasn't exactly been based at his computer for the last couple of days, so not to use as an excuse, but certainly Senkuk may not be on top of his game right now.
We'll have to keep track of that as we get into this game as well, but still they have a very good buffer as we head into playoffs regardless. Rek'Sai will be the next ban in from Ex Nihilo, and then the second to last ban will be Jax in here against Morsu. We've seen a lot of focus from a lot of teams against Morsu as he's come in.
We have.
Quite rightly, as he is a major threat on Ex Nihilo, but do see some solo queue-esque decisions coming from him sometimes. Ezra will be the last ban from Ex Nihilo.
We do. However, last week when we were in this same position, they first picked the Hecarim for Morsu, and it kind of worked. Like, that was the game, I believe, that Ex Nihilo actually won against Gamers 2, where they got the good engages and got themselves really into the fight. However, I don't think first pick Hecarim is all that worthwhile right now. I think Sivir is a very obvious first pick. I mean, especially when you consider the same has happened in both games of today. Kalista ban, Sivir available, first pick, lock it in. So
it would make sense. Plus, a first pick Hecarim would also open up a Gnar for Team Dignitas.
The other thing would be the Gragas coming out for Impaler if you were to want the jungle priority rather than the AD carry priority. So when you look at things overall, I kind of feel like that may be the option they want to go. Okay, no,
right. It was going to be one or the other, right? So yeah, Sivir comes in as the first pick from Ex Nihilo. Team Dignitas EU will no doubt respond with their jungler, as Rek'Sai has been banned. Gragas would be another pickup here. We haven't seen the meta shift too much in terms of the jungle picks. Not just yet, anyway. If you speak to Dan, it will be Renekton. But in this one, it looks like it may be the Gragas in from DEU. They're thinking about the Nautilus as well. Again, is a great flex pick, as we've just seen all over the board. Can be played top, bottom, playing full AP mid lane. Maybe not quite yet. I'll still be locked in for support.
Alistair getting locked in with the Gragas. We've seen this earlier today as well. I mean, nothing really out of the ordinary on that. It's a solid set of frontline champions on that one. They seem to be in a good place right now when it comes to it. We saw the rise of Alistair, and then he's kind of plateaued. He's not at the point where he's like 100% pick ban, 100% win. Still very strong, still up there on pick and ban, but I certainly think teams are starting to play around him a fair amount. So what do Ex Nihilo firstly want to pair with this Sivir? Do they look for something like an Annie that is ranged and has hard engage? Do they look for maybe the likes of a Nautilus that we've seen before? There's a lot of options here available for Ex Nihilo. Also, what do they now go for with the jungle pick? Because Gragas off the table, Rek'Sai off the table, Echo is up. Evelyn, we haven't seen all that much of today, but certainly could be an option.
The interesting thing is Impaler has only ever played Gragas or Rek'Sai so far in the split, so it's going to be a new champion hit regardless.
It's going to be Echo,
it's going to be
looks of it.
Okay, it seems to be a champion which is in most junglers' champion pool nowadays.
Yeah.
Just as that backup, just in case. But the Thresh will be locked in for Zaitam, so we have the bot lane locked in for Crazy Caps and his support there. So now just waiting on Team Dignitas and what they build up with their composition. Already got the tanks in.
They have. So they're looking for at least one solo lane carry at this point in the game. Senkuk probably is going to want to counterpick his mid lane at this point. We know that's what the Team Dignitas lineup like to do. Do Team Dignitas go for something like a Maokai, take it away from Ex Nihilo? Morsu isn't a Maokai player, and I don't feel like ever will be a Maokai player. No. So it's not exactly something you have to rush for in general. But is with the Alistair, the Gragas locked in, certainly is available. But we heard the comments on LCS from, I believe it was Cabochard, saying that how Nautilus top is pretty similar to Maokai.
Yep.
When it comes to it. And I know this makes you happy.
Yes.
Now I can't avoid you talking about it. This is This is
talking about
kind
it
of depressing.
Good stuff.
Let's redo. Let's remake.
Ban
Nautilus.
Yeah, so Cogmore comes in as the next pick. We have the 3 tanks in from Team Dignitas EU, so now they just need damage. And Senkux, he plays a lot of damage dealers, big damage dealers, so they have a lot to play with in the mid lane. It means Senkux can go full Senkux. And Ex Nihilo just waiting on these last 2 picks in from them. Cogmore, again, actually could go mid lane, but we've seen Cogmore play it a lot.
Yeah, I actually don't think it would be particularly bad mid lane either. We've seen Power of Evil run it. Certainly if you're looking for poke but don't want to go the AD route, it's an option. I don't know how I feel about Cogmore in the AD carry role right now when you look at things. Okay. Whoa.
Hey,
okay,
a Morsu special.
A Morsu special. We saw it a handful of times when it wasn't banned in spring, because it normally got banned in teams that were really fearing it. So Morsu loves to play Fiora.
Yeah.
Morsu loves to play Fiora in lanes that can't do anything in response. Can Nautilus, being the equivalent of a Maokai, do anything against a Fiora? This is a matchup I have no experience in.
Yes, but then if you look at the mechanics, Fiora jumps in, and it was like, I'm going to riposte, and Nautilus says, okay, Riptide. So, yes. What I was talking about with Crepo, and we'll get into this later as well, about wave management and how that plays into it, specifically the Yasuo matchup, but we'll reach that later.
I'm looking forward to that. The other thing that we need to touch on is the Evelynn getting picked up. We talked about it now. Impaler's on a second tier of jungler. How's he going to fare? Evelynn didn't really get adjusted all that much, but certainly looks to be a decent choice for Ex Nihilo when it comes to that. That's a Zyra locked in.
Oh, okay.
So we've got some funny different picks at this point.
I like it.
Where is this? That must be mid lane. Yeah. Must be mid lane Zyra.
There's been some talk about Zyra.
Cowtard, is that you? Throwback to Copenhagen Wolves, old days.
Well, we've had a lot of item changes in the mid lane and things that may benefit Zyra.
Here's the conspiracy.
What is it, Stress?
Cowtard, Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah.
Copenhagen. Denmark, Danish, Team Dignitas, full Danish. Senkux is the rebirth of Cowtard.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The theory in full effect. Zyra.
So, okay, what does Zyra actually do? And why perhaps are we seeing Zyra in this situation? Zyra, we've heard rumors, as you were alluding to, is starting to make her way back up. A lot of damage, very high damage that her plants will end up doing, and off her ultimate. It's a good secondary engage and disengage tool. One of the largest zoning area of effect abilities in the game. However, has struggled just from the lack of real necessity for a mid laner that is just able to utilize like plants to attack like other minions. We don't typically see it too much. Very good wave clear, very good ability to catch. Just have not seen her in the mid lane capacity in a very, very, very long time. And
you remember back in the days where we did see Zyra, she was the queen of level 1, which was given to her because E is an amazing tool in that close range scenario.
It really is.
And you're going to land it on multiple people. But yeah, we used to have the Burning Bush build. We had so many different builds on Zyra. But yes, the bottom line is Zyra deals a lot of damage.
So, okay, there's a lot to absorb in this composition. So, first of all, the Fiora on Morsu is going to be split push city. Like,
yes.
How do you ever stop the Fiora? There may be an answer to that in Zyra. Because if Fiora tries to go in on you, strangling roots, put a plant down. Fiora, okay, she can like mitigate your damage using a riposte, but against plants that are attacking pretty quick, I wouldn't want to take that trade.
Oh.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, true. Always forget about how annoying Fiora ult is. For the rest of the team compositions, Ex Nihilo running a tricky composition. Now this Echo is going to be in the middle lane as well is the important thing. They're looking for all engage. Team Dignitas heavy disengage.
Well, there's a lot to talk about as we get into this one, Stress. But for the last time today, tweet at LOL Esports, use those hashtags EXN win with their funky picks, or Team Dignitas EU win if you think they're just going to make a straight run into playoffs undefeated, if they're going to go all Fnatic in the EU Challenger Series.
We'll see. Fnatic haven't clinched it yet, and neither have Team Dignitas.
That's true. There's still time.
They've still got time.
Will the Unicorns of Love upset them? Well, that's an LCS. This is Challenger Series. Ex Nihilo on the blue side in this game. Team Dignitas EU up in the red. And we have a lot of interesting picks in this game, which can do a lot of interesting things.
Well, we spoke to Sayo at the beginning of the day about what is going on with mid lane. Why have we not seen any of these changes come about? And finally, we are seeing one of the changes, albeit not the one I was really expecting. I was kind of expecting Brand, perhaps, before we saw Zyra. Not in the way that it's super OP, but certainly has become a little bit closer to the tier. But I'm excited to see the Zyra. Oh, copy. Steps the hook. Now, this is where they got to be careful if Senkux was moving, because this is where Zyra is very effective. If, for instance, Senkux was waiting like in this bush with 1 or 2 other members, one strangling roots is just enough to just grab everybody in that setup and just tie them all down.
And Ex Nihilo will be getting down this vision, but likewise, Team Dignitas EU will be doing the same thing in the bottom left-hand jungle. Obvious here. He's gone and placed down that ward. Meanwhile, we do have Ex Nihilo trying to get out here. Senkux has actually started Q here, so he's not going to be able to CC anyone down just yet. Actually interesting. And then heads back into his jungle. Okay.
At this point, Zyra. It's one we don't see often. I really struggle to think of the last time we actually saw it properly mid. I think we saw it like kind of in Challenger. Maybe was it that Gangplank game that Mao's played? I feel like I remember casting a Zyra game, but
everything happened in that game.
It wasn't exactly the most straightforward of games.
If you want to go all the way back, there was a dude called Bimbo 8 who played it way back when. Man.
Mostly we saw Zyra in the support role with the Ashe.
Yes.
The quintessential Cloud9 go 25 and 3 in a split. But onto this game, Impaler. Forced to flash out, did get the steal away on the red buff, but now Obvious knows that he can go blue buff and then go to the enemy red if he really needs to, or could go enemy red after his Raptors. We'll see what his decisions are. Bottom lane, however.
Ooh, Zaitan is getting CC'd up again. Nisbet is trying to make the plays with Kobe in here. Crazy Cat's returning the damage, but Zaitan's not in a position to really help him. Takes another couple autos in response. Will Impaler mind game Obvious and go for his red buff first? Well, he's taking the Merc Walls before he does anything, and looks like he's indecisive. He's going to go for one of these things. He's going to go for blue. So
Godbro read that the Raptors had been done, which meant Obvious couldn't be going instantly to the red through like a fairly longer path. So now that buys Impaler a bit of time. Very important that Godbro actually got that read so that it buys Impaler the time to now go for his blue buff. He's reading that Obvious is roughly in the same place, so it would be greedy for Obvious now to go to the red because of that information being given over. It looks like he's going to go Scuttle Crab, and I imagine look to back from that. But certainly, Godbro is having the better of this middle lane. Just overall, when you look at things, he's up in CS, and actually Impaler's going to bail out of the red buff because he's headed top lane, looking to exploit Wonderware's positioning and looking to get this Fiora rolling. Once that Titan's Wrath wears off, here's the engage.
They're coming in, they have a lot of damage as well. Wonderware will be flashing away, but the first blood goes over to Impaler. He has all that damage from the red buff, and he will be going down. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Nisbet slams the ground in frustration that his top laner died.
I like the adjustment there out by Impaler, foregoing any kind of play in the jungle and looking to get the Fiora fed, because they need to get Fiora rolling. We focused a lot on the Zyra because she's something else that's new here, and Godbro will get the damage down. But honestly, in the top lane, this Fiora, we don't see that very often either. And we know Morsu is very good on the champion, but what we saw happen in games where Fiora, when Morsu was on these kinds of champions, where he was looking to 1v1 and split push, was teams would just kind of neutralize him by never dealing with putting somebody in front of him that he couldn't deal with, and just making sure he could never push. But getting him fed is going to make it so difficult for Team Dignitas to actually deal with him until Zyra becomes a really big presence with her wave clear, which is much, much later into this game.
Obvious was thinking about a guy mid lane, but yes. Going back up to that top lane, Morsu pre-6 will still have a difficult time against Wonderware, because Wonderware will straight up just out-trade him with his harass combo. The problem is, his harass combo and his trade combo pushes the lane automatically. So he'll always be open to a potential gank by Impaler, and there's very few ways he'll be able to predict that from coming in. Obvious in the top lane is just waiting to see if he can get the CC down, looking for the dredge line as well. We'll connect it. Obvious is already on the way out, though. Was not too interested in helping out his ally there. Impaler, though, may be more successful in the bottom lane.
There is, however, a lot of protection. Both flashes and summoner abilities available for Team Dignitas, but they are going to back away. So Impaler will now look for the counter jungle. Obvious will take his own Raptors. So really only does that first top lane play separating these two teams when you look at things. Zyra stayed in lane a little bit longer to shove a wave mid lane into the tower. Godbro will lose about 2 or 3 minions off that wave, but will be able to catch up pretty efficiently. And one thing we haven't touched on, there's been a lot that's new in this game. Godbro has picked up Smite this game on Echo, is going towards that Runeglaive. We've heard a lot about Runeglaive Diana and how strong it is. We've also spoken in previous weeks how similar Godbro's playstyle, Echo and Diana, is. So I don't particularly dislike this as a build. I feel like this is going to make Echo's late game damage insanely, even more strong than it should be. And we know that Echo likes to scale.
And it's going to allow him to take these side camps very easily as well, as you just saw, because he can just blasting smite the camp, and then the camp is gone. And Godzuki has more farm. Still trying to play against the Senko. It's very difficult to get in range at the moment, since these plants and grasping roots are very difficult to deal with. But yeah, it's definitely a new one. Impaler in the jungle, however, looking towards maybe the Brutalizer into the Warrior enchant. So actually moving away from Runeglaive and going for more of the AD on this on his side, and also mixed damage. But that would make the team fairly well balanced in that sense.
Yeah, it would. Wonderware is about to get baited into a fight if he pushes, as you said. That his combination for harass is going to push that wave out. He's going to ward the Tribush. Thinks he's safe. Don't step forward, Wonderware. He's playing it safe.
I mean, you have no CC.
Yeah. At this point, he's playing it safe. Wonderware doesn't have a flash available. He knows what's up at this point. Throwing out a couple of laughs. Impaler must know that he knows what's up as well. So
what does he?
What does he? Maybe it's this double mind game.
He's still there.
The suspense is killing me.
Patient there will get you eventually, Wonderware.
This is a lot of time spent, and now they're leeching experience. Ultimate was used in the middle lane for Senkuks. Now this is an interesting one, because when parallel convergence goes down, Senkuks, it obviously has a big indicator. Senkuks can just throw his ult down if Echo decides to go in, and it disrupts disrupts Echo for a fair duration of the stun that Echo's parallel convergence is going to lock.
Yeah.
Because both have a cast time. Yes, Zyra's is a lot lower, but if you time it right, should be okay. I'll be interested to see that kind of interaction as this goes forward. See where Senkuks actually uses his ult.
Now is the time to strike for Obvious this time in the top lane, but Zaitan is coming in from the side. Gragas will have to get away from here. Will be body slamming over the wall. Sidestep in from the death sentence. Zaitan coming out here will be clearing away that pink ward. That's actually pretty significant for the pressure on top lane, as Impaler wants to get Morsu rolling. The first kill also went over to Impaler and not Morsu, so obviously wants to get more gold onto that Fiora pick. Now is the stage where it's a little easier to deal with Nautilus, but Nautilus has just picked up the makings of his armor item. Crazy Cat pops his ultimate in the bottom lane, will return the damage onto Cubby, and this bet, with no ultimate, decides not to dive. Yeah,
good play out by Crazy Cat. Just knew he could hold his ground there at that point. Risked the all-in coming from Team Dignitas, but he had his flash, had his heal, had his spell shield available. Morsu, top lane, is on the run, but it's mid lane, actually, that Zyra's looking for the kill.
Oh, jump back in with the chrono break onto Senko, because he's out of mana and will be returning back to his lane there. But yeah, that was a lot going on very quickly.
Very quick. Top lane, what happened was Fiora actually flashed away. So nothing came of that gank in the top lane. And Morsu was okay to end it. But you can see how treacherous Godbro found himself, or what the position he found himself in the middle lane. Watch for Senkuk's ult here. Does he have the mana available? I don't believe so. Chugs a biscuit. Choose a biscuit, I guess. Chugs it.
Chugs a biscuit, yeah.
Needs one of those Will It blenders
Just
again.
needs some
Cookies and cream, let's go.
Delicious. That's, yeah. Not going to be doing that right now, though. Top lane, Morsu again, trading off in the top lane. We're seeing a lot of trades all over the board. Lots of trades happening, but not a whole lot of anything. Like, summoners aren't even being burnt everywhere. Kills are definitely not happening. But there's a lot of ganks and a lot of outplays that are making the game interesting, but not a lot of kills happening to push it either way.
There's a lot of tension building in this game. And honestly, I don't mind this if I'm on Ex Nihilo. Because this is a lot more controlled than we typically see from Ex Nihilo. Like we were taking a lot of a long look at some of the different stat lines that we could find, and an interesting one that we found for Ex Nihilo, and this doesn't particularly relate to this game yet, but it is a very interesting point, is that Ex Nihilo have the second highest number of dragons out of all teams in the Challenger Series Summer Split, second to Team Dignitas. And it's because they focus on dragons over turrets, more so than any other team. They are second lowest on turrets to overclockers, who are the bottom of the table. So if Ex Nihilo can play a more patient game, not rush headlong into just taking dragon because it's available, and actually think a little bit more about how their team needs to play out, they have more suit to split push for turrets at this point as well. If they can get that set up properly, there is no reason why they can't look to get both the turrets and the dragon lead against Team Dignitas. They are ahead already in this game by just a little bit off that first blood.
Just need a little bit of finesse, but Nisbet doesn't need any of that. He just needs damage onto Zaitan. Mid lane, though, Senkuk's trying to break away by Godzuki. Impaler with the damage, takes another tower shot, catches him with the grappling roots, but the plant will not get in range for Impaler for the last auto, and will not take him out, but the cow is angry. The cow will kill Impaler on the way out. Oh, no one expects the unseen cow.
The unseen cow is the deadliest. He has been seen now, though, so Godbro should not get caught out by this. That's not something that should happen at that point. But Nisbet, good roam, though. Good roam to know that he could get something done there. Very touch-and-go moment for Senkux. Now he's down in the bottom lane because he knew that Crazy Caps and Zaitan would likely engage on Kobby with Alistair not being there. So good roam out by Nisbet.
And Obvious will be taking away this ward. Jump over by Godzuki. May even have enough damage here. Doesn't have the Chrono Break, but does have the Time Winder. Jumps over the wall, gets some more damage down. The cask will be used for the disengage. Obvious drop very low. Wonderware from the top lane. They will be flashing into the ultimate, into the damage. And Obvious rolls in a barrel for the kill. Morsu and Impaler are closing in, though, and the flash was used to pick up the kill by Wonderware. He'll be going down. And that's another kill going over to Impaler.
But it's the second situation where Morsu has been there and hasn't been able to get the kill on this Fiora. His whole split push game is going to be reliant on being able to just battle whoever is in front of him and get the advantage. Yes, he's picked up 2 assists, has a team and has a lot of damage, but look at Senkuk's go.
Well, there's the Blade Waltz and there's a dead
That's
Senkux.
exactly what you were talking about. As soon as he ults, match it with the ultimate of Fiora. That's the interaction that you set up in Picks and Bans. I say look at Senkuk's go. More like look at Senkuk's die.
Yeah. Rock, paper, Blade Waltz.
It's not really rock, paper, plant. It's like plant doesn't replace scissors. I guess the Blade Waltz really has to. So you were right on that one. But okay, well, I mean that highlights a glaring issue for Team Dignitas. Is who do they put in front of Morsu at this point? Because Senkux clearly can't do it if Morsu has his ultimate available.
Well, Wonderware is still trying to do so. He's itemizing purely for Morsu at the moment, has picked up the Frozen Heart at the moment, doesn't have the Righteous Glory, which is the engage tool that you'll usually get onto Nautilus. Gone for the double Doran's Ring for the laning as well. Godzuki now, the one-on-one with him in the top lane, so Ex Nihilo have gone for the swap-up because they know that the itemization has been for Morsu, but not for the AP from Godzuki. So now they'll have the one-on-one in the mid lane, which is favorable for Morsu. Yeah,
we'll see how long they sit in that for, though. As you can see, Morsu is headed there. I actually quite like this adaptation, as you said, or adaptation. Wonderware hasn't gone for the Righteous Glory, which did receive nerfs in 5.13. I'm expecting him maybe to pick it up now. Interestingly, though, Team Dignitas is the first team to really prioritize this dragon, and Ex Nihilo are heading top for that tower. This is a role reversal of exactly what we expect from these teams. We've just talked about it. Ex Nihilo have not focused on turrets, and this time they were looking to group for top.
Well, they've definitely looked more controlled in this game, so maybe they're just changing up their game plan completely. And as you said, look for the turrets over the dragons. Actually, what they did in week 1 didn't work out so well, but neither has a lot of what they've done so far in the split. So a good adaptation, perhaps. Top lane will be going down, so there's the tower for dragon traders we just mentioned. And Godzuki will be heading now into the jungle. Can he get anything else? He'll be waiting in the bush. He'll actually go for the Krugs. Kobe has actually found him. Maybe even staying there might have been the better choice, and maybe able to get the burst onto Kobe. As you stand still, you can instantly chrono break on top of yourself. Do a lot of damage. One
thing that we're going to see a bit different from what we've seen typically is that now that this Echo is mid lane a lot of damage, will struggle to get into a fight and then won't want to stay in a fight. Echo Jungle is fairly happy just sitting in a fight and just taking damage, dealing, you know, stunning people off parallel conversions, getting a lot of disruption in the fight. However, Echo mid lane does not want that at all. All you want is the stun, the burst damage, and to get yourself back out. So it's going to be tough for Godbro to get himself those situations. We saw Senkux trying it earlier on this split, but certainly Godbro is doing an okay job right now. He is up on farm against Zyra, has also been getting a little bit of extra gold as those plants have been ripe for the picking.
Well, also looking at the items as well, there's the Runeglaive, which we were expecting from the Blasting Smite. Just have the Aether Whip as well, so we'll see what builds from that. Could be the Ludens, could be the Lichbane. Mid lane, again, Senkux got the Morellonomicon, so that will be the first item. It's just a question of where he goes from here, because there's a lot of options for Senkux right now. There's the Stranglethorns, will be knocking up the minions more than anything. Morsu is in for the mid lane. Good rotation by Ex Nihilo.
Yeah, really good rotation. I mean, all they did was wait out the Stranglethorns. And once it's gone, that's the real disengage tool other than the Gragas ultimate. And if they commit 2 disengage ultimates to saving a turret at that point, I don't know whether Team Dignitas can then look to really make a play on the map. Because like their composition really without the Zyra ultimate doesn't have damage for the next 15 or so minutes. They need Kog'Maw to get to that 2-3 item point. Zyra has some damage, but it's all dependent on getting your plants to attack as well. So it really is tricky for Team Dignitas to actually take these fights against a very high damage Fiora, a very high damage Echo, and a Sivir as well. This is Ex Nihilo's time to fight.
It really is, and you asked the question earlier, who is going to stay in front of the Fiora? They actually put the duo lane up there temporarily.
That'll do it for now.
Yeah, it's a stopgap measure.
I mean, they'll need them later.
It's like putting duct tape over the hole in the ship, but yeah, wonder where we'll be going up there. So the Titan of the Depths will be clearing out this minion wave for now. And where does Morsu go? He's going into his jungle. He's choosing a lane to go into. But yes, fights are what Ex Nihilo will probably be looking for. Towers are what they're looking for right now. Parallel convergence comes in. We'll be slowing Kobe down. And we'll be backing away and just carrying on pushing this in. This will be the all of the outer turrets falling from Ex Nihilo. This does cause issues for them in the sense that where did they go from there?
Yeah. I mean, looking at this game from kind of just taking a step back, if this was the lead, or at least the setup that Ex Nihilo were doing against other teams in the league, the likes of, you know, the games, obviously against Overclockers, they did fairly well. You know, Ex Nihilo, this is the kind of performance that should be winning them games. This is what we have been expecting from them. This is exactly what should win, but against Team Dignitas, they're already out of the playoff race.
Yeah,
it's too late for Ex Nihilo to try and get themselves through to playoffs. So this is a little too late, unfortunately, for their playoff hopes. But we'll see if they can play spoiler, because a strong performance wouldn't be the end of it. It would be a good start for Ex Nihilo to maybe start rebuilding, looking at their team.
Yeah, because this is a good performance.
Yeah,
no matter how you look at it. And they can actually even up to 4th place, but unfortunately they lose the head-to-heads to everyone. So they actually cannot go back into the playoffs. But yeah, as we move forward, maybe even to spring next year, if they play like this could be a significantly stronger matchup, because this is just well thought out and a good composition. And they're playing around it well. Now we get back into this game. Godzuki going back. It will be the Ludens.
Yeah. It's a really weird situation to be in, because a win here would be good for Ex Nihilo in the sense it's a morale boost. Yeah. But unfortunately, as we said, it doesn't particularly account for all that much in the end. However, let's draw things back to exactly how Ex Nihilo have got themselves a lead in this one, and it's been because of actually good decision making, which when we compare it to what we've kind of known of Ex Nihilo in the last couple of weeks, they've had particularly short-sighted decision making where they've kind of taken random fights, taken random objectives here and there, focused on Dragon when it really hasn't paid off for them. But this game has been a big turnaround, and I'm actually impressed.
Yeah, it feels like the first time that Ex Nihilo have been playing with their eyes open rather than just closing their eyes and running at the opponent and hoping for the best. Like, they're actually thinking about their plays and they're actually looking at the situation and adapting on the fly, which is something we haven't seen before. Team Dignitas EU have fallen behind before, though, and have caught up extremely well through a lot of teams, and this is what we were talking at the start of the game about how they just played the map extremely well.
It's really interesting, though, because Team Dignitas have fallen behind against the lowest two teams now. This game and the Overclockers game that we saw all the way back, I believe it was week 2. So whether it's Team Dignitas underestimating their opponents or whether maybe their preparation isn't quite spot on, we'll see about this fight.
Well, Agony's embraced, but there comes the Stronger Fawn zoning away. Ex Nihilo, they take down the big damage threat of Morsu's open up the fight, though. Crazy Cat is kiting back with Zaitan. And Godzuki trying to get some damage in, but everyone's in full retreat now. Ow, the Dredge line comes in, but a big ultimate from Godzuki will land onto 3 players. Unfortunately, there's no one there apart from Impaler and Crazy Caps to dish out the damage. And while everyone's fairly low from Dig, they come out with a 3-0 plus the Dragon.
Give Nisbeth a medal for that fight. Saw Morsu trying to get into the fight, just headbutts him back out, says, no, you ain't getting into this fight. Morsu actually, I believe, died with his ultimate still available because he just couldn't get in range. As soon as he was pushed back out, Cobby switches focus, puts the damage down, and there's no real danger from the rest of Ex Nihilo from getting in. Oh, Senkux, though.
Yeah, Impaler's found him. And there's no one really to assist there. Morsu actually teleported into the top lane, so there was assistance from the sidelines if it was needed. Crazy Caps will be taking the scrum, which was conveniently set up by Obvious.
And Ex Nihilo can now push this tower. I mean, they have enough people here. They know that Team Dignitas have just recalled, or at least they can get damage down. I don't know whether they can commit to this. Morsu's going to try.
Well, he's going in for the potential kill onto Nisbet, waiting for that ultimate to come down. Wonder where, heading in from the left-hand side. Lands the Dredge line, will be spell shielded out by Crazy Caps. Impaler, will he be falling? He flashes away on a sliver of HP remaining, and Zaitan will follow up. Gets the fly backwards onto Wanderer and Cobby, and trying to get away from the wrap of the Titan as he comes in, lands the Dredge line, and that will be the kill as he bats him in the face. Morsu now coming into the fight, doesn't have the blade wards, will be juking out of the way, gets the auto attack reset onto Cobby, and is kiting efficiently now with the Ikafian surprise. Will he get in range in time? Yes, he will. Explodes right onto Fiora and picks up the kill. A 2-for-1 at the end of that fight. That was very messy.
Very, very messy. And again, Ex Nihilo switch back to their short-sighted decision-making. Okay, this is all the way back at Dragon. Keep your eyes on Morsu as he gets pushed into the wall, headbutted away, knocked up, and taken straight out of the fight. From there, look at where the carries are from Team Dignitas. They're untouched for now until Godbro does manage to get himself back into the fight to deal damage, but then he's 1 versus 5 at this point. That is not a fight that Godbro is going to be able to take. That resulted in the Dragon pick. Then we saw the teleport bottom lane. So overall, Ex Nihilo took the turret. However, they lost a good number of their players from that. And Team Dignitas, I believe, took a turret of their own, or at least they have one now on the scoreboard for themselves.
Still, that follow-up play was not the worst follow-up play I've ever seen from a team. They immediately teleported in because it's like, okay, we know Dignitas are low from the end of that fight. Let's try and pick up a turret. They got the turret, but the end of that fight, not as good. But all in all, that was actually a net gain in terms of gold.
It was, and honestly, it's led to Ex Nihilo being ahead. 37.2 to 35.5 overall. The turrets are that goal difference between the two, so Team Dignitas certainly have kept themselves up when it comes to the rest of the map. A little bit of gold lead, or at least CS lead for Morsu against Wonderware. Other lanes are particularly, or pretty much even at this point, but Ex Nihilo, they are in a good spot. They're a little bit down on kills, but as you said, gold is up from the turrets, and that gives them a lot of freedom to play with now with Morsu. 2-2-2 on this Fiora, has got a Quicksilver Sash as well, so should be able to get away from at least some of the crowd control Team Dignitas are offering. A lot of it, what they've got is knock-ups, though. Doesn't really get rid of them.
Well, knockbacks will work very well against Impaler. Teleport now coming in from the Nautilus to try and close in from behind onto Impaler and Zaitan. There comes the box, but Wonderwear is very tanky at this stage. Will be coming out with the Dredge line. Crazy Caps and Godzuki disengaging from the right-hand side. Sen cooks in from the bottom-hand side, though, and blows him up with the Stranglethorns. Again, Godzuki tries to come back into the fight with the Chrono Break, but will be taken out. What's that? Morsu split pushing? Unreal.
No teleport available either, so Morsu will get the inhibitor turret at a minimum on this. Someone from Team Dignitas has to back. Recalls just got cancelled as well. Morsu is going to push up for the inhibitor from this. Ex Nihilo can't do too much more, so he has to back away, but they were certainly trying to stop recalls. Team Dignitas only take themselves an outer tower and a couple of kills for an inhibitor tower being down in the bottom lane. This game is still very much so open.
No, I would call worth on that play.
Yeah.
Morsu split pushing in the bottom lane, and now we're getting into the stage of the game where there's no objectives on the board. We can see Ex Nihilo's bigger picture game plan come in, where we have split push with the Morsu, have the rest of the team doing something else, and that's what we saw right there. Dignitas had to commit to one play. They committed to going for the fight. Yes, they pick up the turret. Yes, they pick up the fight. But was that the long-term correct decision? We'll see. Let's take a look at that last team fight again, though.
Well, the decision is very easy at this point because teleport's already been used, so either Wonderwear cancels it and finds himself 1v1, or he commits and opens up the turret. And now Wonderwear commits to the teleport. Look at how big the zoning area is here from Senkai. That is what Zyra brings you. And just a massive, massive amount of damage. Team Dignitas are starting to get this composition to work for themselves now that they've had a couple of fights here, but certainly this game's a lot more even than I think everybody would have expected.
I do question whether Wonderwear's TP was strictly necessary, because he was trying to cut off the two under the turret, but the two kills that Dignitas eventually got were the ones that they would have gotten anyway with the Zyra flanking. So, all in all, it was the right decision, but whether it worked out is another question. Morsu still split pushing. He's in the top lane. He's level 16, by the way. He is the highest level in this game. Has the max level Blade Waltz, so he's dealing a lot of damage. Also with his E, as soon as that's up, that's basically enough damage to kill the turret very quickly.
Wonderwear kind of just waddles up to the turret. It's like, oh, it's already gone. I'll back at it.
Hello. I'm out. Crazy Caps.
You've played too much Nautilus.
Yeah.
Far too much Nautilus.
Yeah. Good times, good times. Godzuki, though, in the mid lane, will be clearing up these minions. Is picked up the Blasting Wand. Has not changed his build too much since the last time we visited his item build from the Ludens and the Runeglaive. Dragon is up in 10 seconds. This will be the main thing for the next couple, I was going to say minutes, but more like seconds, as Morsu is waiting in the wings. The plant will see him. Now Team Dignitas EU heading towards this dragon. They're actually going to start this one off. We could see a fight erupting.
We could. They are on 2 already. Ex Nihilo like to fight at dragons. Last time it didn't go so well.
Well, there's the Civet ult being popped. The Stranglethorns will be used to disengage. Wonderwear comes in from the top side. He is very tanky and will be taking up the whole lineup from Team Ex Nihilo. Meanwhile, Obvious trying to get in range for an explosive cast. Already used it, in fact. The dragon is still alive, remember. Ex Nihilo trying to posture for a good Fiora ult.
A lot of ultimates have been used. As you said, Fiora ultimate is still available, as is the Chrono Break. Godbro gets it!
Oh, he gets it with the auto attack, and meanwhile, the rest of the team, the fight is ensuing. Wonderwear is still trying to tank up. Morsu still has his ultimate, looking for a good one. Team Dignitas EU are dropping very low. Nisbet will be the first kill. There's the Blaze Waltz being used on 2 Obvious and Wonderwear. Now backing away. Morsu actually dropped in the middle of that, not even sure where he died. The damage from Team Dignitas must have taken them out during the Blade Waltz. I'm not entirely sure how that happened, because that would have been the fight turner.
Overall, a 1 for 2. Dragon went over to Godbro, and the rest of Ex Nihilo in that fight. I guess that's the importance of running mid lane Smite with Runeglaive as well. You know your mid lane is going to be a higher level than the enemy jungler, so it seemed like easy pickings. But the rest of the team fight turnaround, regardless of the fact that the Zyra ultimate wasn't available, a couple of other key ultimates just weren't there for Team Dignitas. It was enough for them to just clean up the fight, and it's a bad sign for Ex Nihilo right now. They know they can't fight, and every time that one of these trades happens and Ex Nihilo start losing it, they're not utilizing the split push that both Godbro and Morsu can bring to their team composition. Every time they get dragged into these fights, it just doesn't really go their way. However, they do stall out the potential of 5 dragons being collected by Team Dignitas.
I'd really like to look at that fight again, though, because everyone was very low from Team Dignitas EU. They also used a lot of ultimates. We're actually going to see it here. Very interested just on what happened with Morsu.
Yeah, let's focus in on Morsu and exactly what happened, because we're about to hit the steal coming through. Morsu's actually off towards the side. Does he try and 1 versus 1 or 1 versus 2 Cobby and Nisbet?
Disengage.
So this is a disengage. This is before we see the steal come through. So we waiting. This is where Godbro jumps in and gets the steal. So we'll get the smite and the auto down at the same time. So Morsu's off at the top side of this fight. Not actually doing anything yet. Waiting to see him actually jump in. So he goes in, staggering blows hits him. And then, yeah, Cobby and Senkux, the rest of the team, can just kind of annihilate him. I didn't actually see it the first time around either myself. I was kind of focused a lot more on what was going on with Godbro and whether it was the smite or not. But watching it back again, Morsu, that's the second fight where he just hasn't really found his mark.
Yeah, Morsu, though, will be using the minions to jump with lunge, but it's Nautilus. But yeah, the big thing in that fight was I saw the animation from the Blade Waltz, and then yes, you were invulnerable during that time, but there was an auto attack in the air from Cobby, which took him out as the animation started, so he only got like the initial damage down and then died. Look at that, 50-50. I don't think anyone was really expecting a 50-50 vote, but that's very much what the game has turned into.
Certainly
between Team Dignitas and Ex Nihilo definitely reflects that. But yeah, if Morsu can land a good ult, that is important. But well played by Nisbet. He was the guy who locked him down twice now. Actually.
Twice, yeah. Very, very good point on that one. As Nisbet really is just kind of holding up these team fights where it's been looking a little bit shaky for Team Dignitas EU, and raises an interesting point on another thing of what this game perhaps means. Long time ago, Impaler used to play on
a galaxy far away.
Not only Crazy Caps and Zaitan, you have 3 former Team Dignitas players going up against the current Team Dignitas EU lineup. So bragging rights on the line here, and Ex Nihilo are in a good position still. So I don't want to say surprisingly here, but I'm going to. Surprisingly, Ex Nihilo have managed to maintain this lead, which feels maybe a little bit unfair on Ex Nihilo, but considering their other games, this split, this is a very strong performance out of them, and would undoubtedly be an upset if Ex Nihilo were to win this game. They are in somewhat of a position to do it. They now need to get Morsu split pushing once again, and there is no reason why they can't close this one out.
No, and Morsu is gigantic. He is level 17. He has a lot of farm, the most in the game. He's gone for the Mercurial Scimitar as his second item. And we saw the Last Whisper now being picked up. So he's pretty much got his build down. He'll only be going for more AD from here, maybe an Infinity Edge. Sometimes you see a Ghost Blade, but usually have the Brutalizer building into that. Wonderwear is going to be a difficult tank to get through, though. He's built a lot of armor. He's gone for the Tabby, which reduces those auto-attack damage. And he's just big. And
that really is the problem right now for Ex Nihilo, is as much of a position they're in to look to close this game out, there is a lot of difficulty for it, because 3 tanks on the side of Team Dignitas, with a Sivir who does struggle the later you go in the game for Ex Nihilo with actually burning through tanks. Echo has good single target damage, plus if you can get an ultimate is okay, but we know how difficult it is to get that kind of Hail Mary parallel convergence into Chrono Break on multiple people. Fiora is going to want to split push, and we've seen as soon as she enters team fights, just gets locked out unless she gets her ultimate off instantly. So honestly, Ex Nihilo have to play this right, and they have to play the split push game.
Yeah, they need to play the split push game, but they need to 1-3-1. They can't just 4-1 because Wonderwear is too tanky to just do that, because Morsu will never be able to clear the waves fast enough. Now the push coming in from the mid lane from Team Dignitas EU. They're the ones putting down the pressure. Morsu does have his teleport, again heading into the bottom lane. And the plan And start attacking people. Good job, Pan.
Team Dignitas have got a fair amount of wave clear right now. With Zyra, with Cogmore. Now that he's got a good few points in Voidoo's as well, can really burn things down.
Wow,
but Team Dignitas, this is it. Well, they haven't got anyone, but look at Fiora down in the bottom lane. Are there any wards set up? Yes, there is one. Here comes Fiora into the fight. This was a risky 50-50 Baron on Dig's side.
He's coming in from behind, though. He's actually just 1v1ing the Baron. He's stuck in the Baron pin, has to flash over the wall. He didn't commit with his team because the team was not committing.
Yeah.
So that he didn't go in with the Blade Bots. The flash down is pretty significant. It's going to be hard for him to activate.
Very significant. Here come Dig.
Well, obvious. Going on to Godzuki. Morsu gets into the fight. There's the ultimate, but a great exhaust in from the team of Ex Nihilo. From Dignitas, rather. Meanwhile, Godzuki trading off from Kobe. He's turning around with the damage. Comes in with a living artillery. Chasing after. Doesn't land the Voidoo's. Jumps back in. Gets taken out before he can deal out the damage. Dredgeline doesn't land. Everyone from Dig EU are very low. Ex Nihilo, however, still have Crazy Cap. Still have Impaler. But Wonderwear and Sencooks are very low themselves. Just one Ravage and Hate Spike will take them out. Wonderwear, again, does not connect the Dredgeline.
Dragon is up, though, so that's where Team Dignitas are looking to get to. Impaler still has Smite available, has his Flash, could look to steal. It would pretty much be a one-way trip for them. The rest of his team is kind of around, or at least who is still remaining. Not going to be able to get there in time, though, and that is Dragon number 3 going over to Team Dignitas. Nisbeth was there to play Defender as well, and as you said, that fight maybe was won and lost on an exhaust from Nisbet to keep themselves available. And look at this big stack now, just going to get cleared out by Sencooks in the bottom lane. Back to square one goes Morsu on the split push game, or maybe Ex Nihilo thinks square one is around the Baron pit, but they're recalling on a ward, which...
it won't be disrupted, but
no,
it gives information.
It's the information now that Team Dignitas just started a fairly risky Baron to draw Team Ex Nihilo away, and they get the teleport from it as well. Let's see.
Look at this exhaust.
Exactly what happens. So this is after the flash that comes through from Morsu. So Team Dignitas no Morsu, no flash, is half health. Good engage onto Godbro. This is where Morsu turns. Couldn't get in with the headbutt, but the exhaust right before the cast. Morsu does try and get himself out with that Mercurial Scimitar, but too little too late on that one, and now it's left to the carries to really duke this one out. Godbro thought he maybe had it with the phase dive onto Kobe, but nothing really came from that in favor of Ex Nihilo. They lost the teleport, and they didn't really win the fight either. Yeah,
the exhaust was literally the difference between Sencooks dying and not dying, and also everyone else dying in that fight.
Everybody.
Yeah, everyone died. But yeah, Nisbet, this is the 3rd time in a row he shut down Morsu. If Morsu gets off a perfect dot, yes, he's 2 and 4, but all of that's pretty much been from Nisbet. He can still win this fight. Ex Nihilo in these fights are so close to winning, but it's all around Nisbet getting either the CC or the lockdown onto Morsu.
Yeah, his exhaust is nearly back available as well. So
split second as well, just before he went into ult.
Really, really clutch exhaust to save that team fight. As Ex Nihilo are kind of struggling without the ability to split push their hearts out. As I guess that's kind of the problem they have, is that they do have majority three melee champions. When you look at the top side of the map for them, yes, okay, they've got the futuristic yo-yo from Echo to clear through waves, and the Hydra on Fiora, but they are 2 versus 1 on Wonderwear. That's a fight that Wonderwear is not going to win.
Nope, but he's going to die fairly slowly, or never, because Team Dignitas are here. Morsu was already on his way out. I'm not sure if that's because he assumed Godzuki could kill him, or because Team Dignitas were on the way.
I think it's mostly that he thought Godbro had him at that point, and now Morsu and Godzuki,
the greatest of drinks.
Oh dear, now you got me thinking of Iron Brew. But Morsu backing away down the lane. Man, English is hard 3 games
nice
into the day.
Though.
However, Impaler and the rest of Ex Nihilo are pushing down onto the Baron.
Yeah, Baron, that's a word. And Sencooks, hook, swinging a miss. Doesn't quite land it there. Doesn't land the grasping roots either, but it is enough to zone Ex Nihilo away from this Baron. Zaitan is doing a little dance before he decides what he wants to do next. Godzuki in this bot lane. They're going to try for round 2 against Wonderwear, but this time has been spotted out by a ward. I wonder where this is at 1 versus 2 in the bottom lane. He's keeping up a lot of members caught up from Ex Nihilo.
He is, and honestly, Ex Nihilo, they're starting to lose the decision-making prowess that they've had in this game. They got the 6 turrets so far. They haven't been able to push mid lane turret. It's that inhibitor tower in the bottom lane that really has had no further impact in the game outside of just attracting the attention of Godzuki and Morsu again and again. Dragon will beat you up in just over 2 minutes. Ex Nihilo have 1 to their name. Team Dignitas have 3. But Ex Nihilo are running out of options when it comes to exactly how to close this game out. They somehow need to get that bottom lane inhibitor down, and you can see they're really trying to brute force it with 2 players again and again trying to capitalize on Wonderwear. However, teleport is available for Morsu, so they can look to commit more to this bottom lane if Godbro goes back to the rest of the team.
Ex Nihilo have lost a lot of tempo over the last couple minutes because they've stopped getting towers, they've stopped getting more gold, which has led to items, which has led to them being able to contest fights. Nisbet has stalled a lot of that aggression from Ex Nihilo. Again, the bottom lane trade comes in, tries to get a kill into Wonderwear. This time, Nisbet is there to stymie the attempt once again from Ex Nihilo. And it's really just been around these fights where the game has not snowballed out of control. Again, Godzuki comes in, gets Dredgeline looking for more CC. Morsu still has his ult. It's going to take a while for the rest of the team to react here. Crazy Cat's coming in from the left-hand side for the flying. Godzuki gets locked up, but so is Wonderwear. Jumps over the wall. Morsu will be flashing after this target. Is this really worth it, though? Comes in for the ultimate. Yes, he gets that 1 kill. That's a big ultimate down for the rest of the fight. 2 members have died. Nisbet is already down. Morsu is now 1v2 against Kobi and Obvious. The rest of the team is closing in. Kobi has to flash away and is also not taken down. Godzuki is still alive. Looks for the time winder. Gets them on the reverse swing. Lots of damage onto Kobi once again. Impaler trying to juke away from this fight. Gets the slam on towards him from Obvious's Gragas there with the Drunken Rage. That was a 2 for 2 overall, though.
Very extended fight, though, on that one. As you said, 2 for 2 overall. It took so long for Godzuki and Morsu to actually kill Wonderwear and Nisbet that they committed so much to that fight that had that Blade Waltz still been available, Kobi had stepped forward and was pretty much easy pickings should they have gone for it. Impaler is going to try and stop the recall from Senkux. It just smites him and laughs in his face. That's actually quite a big stop because now he's not going to have Zhonya's available for the fight potentially, but this was a very long fight. Godbro was actually kind of half losing this fight with the amount of damage that Nautilus is just outputting. In comes Crazy Caps. Nice flash by Wonderwear, and Morsu commits a lot to this just to get the kill, as he had to before Kobi reappeared and didn't jump over onto Kobi because, of course, no real vision over that side. So at this point, this is the rest of the team fight. The Team Dignitas are able to clear up. Zyra splits the fight up. No further kills from this, though, and Ex Nihilo managed to get themselves away. The important thing, though, is Team Dignitas are around the Dragon. However, Ex Nihilo are on the Baron already. Teleport is coming in from Morsu, so they are committing everything to taking this Baron down. However, it's not going down quickly at all. And in come Team Dignitas from the bottom side. Sivir hasn't yet got to the fight from the top.
Well, do they have a plan B? So far, doesn't look like it. Godzuki's being chased down, has already used the Corona Break, and he'll be flattened by Nautilus, who will get him with the ultimate. A 2 for 0 right there. Team Dignitas EU will use this opportunity to try and take some towers of their own. Senkux heading into the mid lane with the rest of his team.
Oh, Ex Nihilo have done such a good job of good decision-making throughout this entire game, but they slip back into this let's get an objective right now mentality that they really didn't need to go for. The teleport play on Morsu, they could have just held on to. Okay, they were running out of split push options here, but it's what is really the only thing that would have won this game for them if they'd have been able to get Morsu into a lane. You knew Team Dignitas were on Dragon anyway, so they have to kind of peel off to go for Baron. Look to set up a bait and see if you can get something. The problem is they used their cards early to try and rush down the Baron, then didn't commit to it. Now they lose the Dragon as well.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because Ex Nihilo seem to be very affected by the previous plays that have been made in this game. 3 team fights in a row that did not go their way, and now they're reverting to their problems that they've had previously during the split, despite the early game going so well for them. And Morsu, you even saw in the decision-making that he had mid-fight. First 3 fights, great. He got shut down by Nisbet, not so great, but that was a good play by Nisbet. Right in that last fight, we saw him not go for Cobby, but decide to flash over the wall for the tank and kill Wonderwear using his ultimate, which has so much value on it, when it was literally a Cogmore right next to him that he could have gone for.
Yeah, I mean, he could have gone for him at any point. And speaking of Cogmore, has picked up the Frozen Mallet right now, so looking for a little bit of extra health, looking for the slow as well. That is not a standard AD carry item by any means. Very, very, very rarely do you ever see that. I remember actually, I believe it was Double Lift maybe built it once on Caitlyn. If that's a long time ago in my memory.
That is a long time ago.
It was a very, very long... Because I remember Double Lift made this massive point about, like, don't build Frozen Mallet, and then did it in an LCS game, if I remember rightly. I may be remembering a little bit incorrect. It's probably about 2 years old of information, but it has been built in this game on Cobby's Cogmore, so he's going to stay alive a little bit longer. Pair that with, you know, the ability he's had so far to stay alive. Cobby hasn't really been affected in these fights. Nisbeth has done such a good job of protecting him. This 8-1-6 Cogmore is in such a strong position right now to carry team fights almost alone, but he's got Senkux next to him to also peel using that ultimate.
Yeah. That being said, Infinitage now finished by Morsu. He's still very much a real damage threat for the backline of Team Dignitas EU. Remember, this is a triple tank composition with these 2 big damage threats.
Zyra's,
if those are taken away...
Yeah, Zyra's very good at doing Baron as well. Just for anybody that hasn't picked up on that quite yet, one of the things you overlook. Here's the fight, though.
Zaitan has been caught out. He'll be taken out by Team Dignitas before the fight really starts. Godzuki now being chased down. There's the depth charge. Locks him up. Comes in with the parallel convergence. Gets the stun down and turns around with the damage. Ultimate comes out. Will not be enough damage at all to chunk through that front line. Morsu, however, there's the ultimate. But again, the exhaust in from Nisbet will stop the damage. And now it's just a matter of chasing down Ex Nihilo. Crazy Caps will dodge the hook. He'll sidestep that one. Dignitas now turn around and look for the Baron. They are fairly low, though. Senkux is over the wall, but he'll be taking extra damage from the spikes that come out. Meanwhile, Impaler, Crazy Caps there in very strong HP, but not anymore. Crazy Caps is very much dead. Impaler upside of the Baron. Godzuki now comes into the fight. Can he go huge? He gets one onto the jungler, onto Obvious. Chasing down is Wonderwear. Cobby now comes in for the damage. He'll be taking out Echo once again. Senkux jumps in. Will be taken out by Impaler, who flashes onto him. Gets him with the Ravage, but the double kill in from Cobby. And Zaitan has now just respawned, but Wonderwear is on this Baron. The team is like, no, we're not going to go around. We might as well just finish the game.
You've got minions, super minions already pushing through, pushed down into the Nexus turrets. It's a long time before a lot of the damage respawns. A very extended team fight again goes in favor of Team Dignitas. They don't even go for the Baron. That's going to be Dig picking up this win.
Yeah, Zaitan and Morsu, still a little ways to go on that one, but it was so hard fought, but eventually Team Dignitas come through with another 2-0 week against Ex Nihilo. But Ex Nihilo looking way better in this game, but too little too late.
Looking way, way better, but Team Dignitas, once again, when pushed up against it, form a comeback win. They're looking a lot better with the decision-making in the later game than pretty much every other team in Challenger. They looked pretty strong in the late portions of that game, but the early game kind of oddness caught them by surprise, perhaps.
Yeah, it didn't feel like Dignitas were particularly thinking hard about the decisions in the early game, whereas Ex Nihilo really were in terms of the movements from lane to lane. But honestly, that game was all centered around Nisbet. 4 times in a row, he stops Morsu single-handedly. Like
very good play.
Yeah, it was pretty significant. But yeah, just good play by Nisbet in this one.
Yeah, really, really good play. And honestly, like, this was a game with a lot of weird stuff in it. I mean, if we look back at exactly what the picks and bans were for this, I mean, we had the Fiora top lane. The split push worked very well to begin this game, but quickly Ex Nihilo started running out of options. Really, there was nothing they could do. The Zyra was pretty decent from Senkux, had a lot of damage and a lot of control over fights when it came to areas you can zone away. I think it needs a little bit more refinement. It certainly wasn't like, wow, Senkux is Zyra, but worked pretty well as well.
Well, Senkux has actually had a lot of experimentation over the last couple of weeks. He's had the Yasuo come out. We've had the Zyra now as well. Yasuo has seen some play, but more in the top lane more than anything in the LCS and other regions of play. But yeah, Team Dignitas just showing that consistency will win games, and that's what happened, because Ex Nihilo great in the early game, but definitely the later the game went on, started reverting to old habits, and Team Dignitas just played consistently from start to end. And
they played the team fights out beautifully. I mean, we want to take another look back at some of them very small things in the team fights that ended up kind of ripple effect going all the way through. This was the exhaust that maybe saved the game. There you just saw it. Morsu exhausted before his ultimate meant that just no real damage. Well, I say no real damage, still had damage output during that, but certainly wasn't enough to win that fight. And Kobe had a pretty darn good game, just overall, on this one. On the Kog'Maw, we were wondering, was it going to go mid at the beginning, or was it going to go AD carry? Zyra got locked in, showed us exactly where it went, and Kobe, great stat line, 12, 1, and 7 on that Kog'Maw.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he did that yesterday as well, and has consistently been doing that throughout the split. Kobe is just a solid AD carry who will find those kills. When the team is doing well, he'll just find the kills. He'll be your AD carry. We've sometimes seen him even go big. Saw him on the Lucian a couple of weeks back, where he basically went 1-4 on Quadrid. Like, when he's ahead, he will make the plays, and he will do well. And Kobe, just looking good overall. Yeah,
looking very good overall. In fact, his stats, just looking at it very quickly, Kobe is currently 61, 7, and 61.
Not bad.
In 8 games.
Yeah. Also helps when the team is winning, but still.
Oh yeah, it does. But then it's like the causation correlation.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, is it? Are they winning because Kobe's doing well? Is Kobe doing well because they're winning? I feel like it's a bit of a mix of both.
Something to investigate for sure, Stress. But with all 6 games of Week 4 complete, let's see where the teams sit with only 1 week remaining in the round robin. At the very top of the scoreboard, what a surprise. It's Team Dignitas EU, 8-0. Closely followed by Gamers 2 and Mouse Sports after their game today. And then DEU in 4th, so want to get out of there fairly quickly. And then Ex Nihilo and Overclockers are currently out of playoff contention.
Yeah, as a reminder, Team Dignitas, Gamers 2, Mouse Sports, and DEU have locked their playoff places, so it's now all on the seedings. And speaking of seedings, remember to tune in again next week, where our final set of round-robin games will be broadcasted. All important to see who's going in what spot. As always, we'll be highlighting the action from Tuesday, and we'll start off Wednesday with Team Dignitas EU against Gamers 2, a very important game.
Very important, yeah, for seeding there. But right after that, Mouse Sports takes on DEU Esports, and the round robin concludes with Overclockers versus Ex Nihilo. More for bragging rights more than anything here, Stress. But the action starts all over again at 1800 CEST.
Now, if you missed any of today's games, you can catch them over on the VOD sub on lolesports.com, as well as all of the cool other regions that we talked about. As we're on the road to Worlds, make sure you catch up with what's going on elsewhere.
Yeah, it's Worlds. But the league action doesn't stop here. Tune in again at 12 AM CEST or 3 PM Pacific time for a prime time league.
And after that, Freakin' Zyrene, they're going to bring you Week 4 of the 2015 North American Challenger Series.
And with that, that does it for another week of the European Challenger Series. So from myself, Stress, and the Challenger broadcast team, thank you for watching, and we'll see you at the same time, same place next week.